options. We're not going to see another Smeargle. Instead, it's going to be a Ditto, which is also a pretty interesting Pokemon. And then on the other hand, we have Paul coming up with Yveltal and Groudon, so 2 different restricted Pokemon. And then he has Landorus, Therian Form, a Gengar, potentially Mega, the Tapu Koko, and a Bronzong. So I haven't seen the combination of these 6 Pokemon coming out from Paul. Have you?
I don't think so, but I've seen like the part of the teams like Yveltal and Groudon is like a really strong core, and if you bring Yveltal as your restricted Pokemon, you want to prepare really well against Xerneas. Like that's why there we got the Groudon, the Gengar, and the Bronzong. So you got ways to deal with that, and like Landorus, Therian plus Gengar is a pretty common core at the moment. Like you trap the opponent Pokemon with Shadow Tag in, and usually those Landorus just run a Ground EMC-based Earth Power or Earthquake, which might be both on this team, seeing the Yveltal and the Bronzong. On the other hand, like Baris got Lunala Xerneas. Paired up with 2 Fake Out users, which is never a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty straightforward and offensive team, the Lunala and the Xerneas. Usually it's a lot about setting up the Xerneas, getting into a strong position, using your double Fake Out Pokemon. But seeing as Paul does have that Bronzong, which is not something that we see that often. Usually these days it's Stakataka if you want a Steel type that sets Trick Room. But Bronzong, of course, has some other options, like, for example, that Levitate ability. So he could avoid being hit by Earthquake from his own Landorus. And we'll see if that is something that Paul decides to bring. So far, though, we are seeing a Tapu Koko and Gengar lead from Paul. And for Baris, we're seeing Xerneas and Kangaskhan.
So this is where all the mind games start. Like Kangaskhan can run an ability that allows Scrappy, there you go, in its normal form, to be able to fake out that Gengar, and Xerneas could start off boosting with Geomancy right away if that Tapu Koko does not run Taunt. Usually those Xerneas, based on the HP we see here, might withstand a Gigavolt Havoc from Tapu Koko, but I've already seen some Wild Charge based Tapu Kokos.
Yeah, that's also an option to hit Xerneas on the weaker physical side. And as you're saying, usually there is some some Tapu Koko sets where Xerneas is feeling absolutely fine against. But it's the first game and the first turn, and you really do not want to risk losing the game like right away. So you really have to wonder whether Baris will take a risk there, or if he decides to just go, with the defensive move. But we're seeing that Fake Out actually getting a critical hit thanks to the Scrappy ability. There is the Fake Out, but Taunt coming out from Paul Ruiz's Tapu Koko, so he is prepared to stop the Geomancy.
Yes, and not only stopping the Geomancy, but also stopping potential protects, which is huge because Gengar usually runs Sludge Bomb. So, especially when you got an Yveltal to deal with Lunala. So that Xerneas is pretty much free to be taken out. Maybe that Kangaskhan is running a Sucker Punch, which is kind of unused lately, because Bite was the superior option, so I'm really curious what's happening next.
It looks like Baris decided to leave the Xerneas on the board, so Paul could just double target it there with, say, like a Sludge Bomb or Volt Switch or something. Instead, though, we are seeing a Protect come out from the Gengar.
Oh yeah, and Tapu Koko straight up going for the Nature's Madness into the Xerneas, maybe to just ensure that the Gengar will take out the Xerneas on the next turn. Thanks to Shadow Tag, the Xerneas is trapped into there and is not able to protect. So we have
it's
to
like really trapped in there and cannot do a lot.
We have to assume that maybe that Gengar is trained like one Sludge Bomb is not enough, or he's not carrying it.
Maybe he just has Shadow Ball.
So even though Paul lost the first Pokemon, he's on his way to get rid of the first restricted Pokemon on Baris's side.
But as you were saying, Sucker Punch is always something that you have to respect on Kangaskhan. It's not that common anymore, since Bite is so popular nowadays with the flinch chance, and with Parental Bond you can attack twice, and double the chance to get the flinch. I mean, it's kind of awkward for Paul. He really has to hope that his opponent does not have Sucker Punch because he really doesn't want the Xerneas or the Kangaskhan to just stay in there and, yeah, like attack the Groudon, for example. But Groudon, on the other hand, also resisting Xerneas' Fairy-type attacks. So, Paul, do you think he's really in a need to remove the Xerneas right now, or could he maybe like keep the trap up a little longer?
Well, you set it up pretty well, Marcus. Since Paul got Groudon and Gengar on the board, depending on the set of the Groudon, like if it is a substitute Groudon or a Sword Dance Groudon, he could use the turn where he takes out the Xerneas to set up his Groudon for even more win conditions. On the other hand, if Kangaskhan got Bite, it just may take out Gengar in return, but we do see the Sludge Bomb coming from the Gengar, and like you call it, he's going into the Kangaskhan, and the Kangaskhan revealing Bite going into
the Groudon. Wow. So that is going to be a decent chance for Baris that the Groudon of his opponent cannot attack. He was expecting something like maybe a Switch or another Protect. But yeah, just not attacking the Gengar at all. That would have been a good way for Baris to just knock out that Pokemon right away. Instead, doubling up on the Groudon, which, as we were saying, thanks to the Fire type, doesn't take that much of damage and is able to set up the Sword Dance here. So, yeah, now the taunt ran out. So Xerneas would be able to protect once again. But now Paul has the opportunity to go for another Sludge Bomb onto Kangaskhan, knock that out, and then do a lot of damage to Xerneas, if not knock it out with his Groudon. So I think Paul in a decent position here for sure.
Definitely. Like you already said, by not taking out the Xerneas, he put himself in a really comfortable position. Since we now know that the Kangaskhan is having Bite as a Dark-type move, so the Gengar is free to attack the Kangaskhan. Groudon already set up, so that's a pretty big win condition. Xerneas cannot go for Geomancy because he gets taken out by the Groudon in return, and there we see another knockout.
Yeah, and Xerneas will just go for the Moonblast. No matter what target it chooses, it will not be super effective. Decides to go for the Gengar, does a decent chunk, but even gets the special attack drop. Okay, that is certainly nice, but the Fire Punch will knock out Xerneas, and yeah, even though Paul Ruiz lost his Tapu Koko early on, now getting a double knockout, so Baris is down to his last two Pokemon. And yeah, Baris really kind of went for a risk there, going for the Bite. It didn't do a lot of damage for Groudon, so he was really just hoping for the flinch there, did not get it. And that's always something where you really have to think of whether, well, are you going for the double edge for the guaranteed damage, or do you want to take a chance here? And we are seeing Ditto to come in. Now that's, of course, an interesting Pokemon. Opposite of that Groudon, so with its Imposter ability, it will transform straight into his opponent's Primal Groudon, and also, of course, take over the stats boost that we have seen with the Sword Dance. So now Baris all of a sudden also has a very, very powerful Groudon on the board.
This was like really interesting. Like whenever you got your own Ditto in the back, you have to plan out where can I bring it in, on which slot does it make sense to copy the opponent. And like Baris, now we see why he wanted to get that Ditto in the position of the Xerneas slot just to copy the Groudon. Well, Ditto is well known for some certain items, like there's Red Card obviously, but one really popular item as well is Joy Scarf. So if this might be the thing, Baris positioned him really well. Yeah,
certainly. So Paul now, though, has a counter to his own Primal Groudon, brings in the Bronzong with, we would expect it to be the Levitate ability. However, Lunala still could use the Z move, and while Gengar is weak to Ghost-type attacks, just so is Bronzong. So this might be targeted into that slot, and that would be a big KO for Baris.
Oh, this would be a really big KO, especially like with the board he got. He doesn't even, if it is Choice Scarf, he doesn't even have to lock himself into a Fire Punch.
Yeah, he's attacking into the Groudon though, with the Menacing Maelstrom here. So that wouldn't do as much damage through the Protect, but he prioritized getting rid of that Groudon, since of course Groudon can do a lot more damage to an opposing Groudon, or well, the Ditto that transformed into the Groudon, than the Gengar, which was even at a reduced level of special attack. But yeah, we are seeing the Fire Punch going into the Bronzong, so that was a great move by Baris, getting the clean one-hit knockout on the Bronzong. And now, yeah, we were talking about this, if that was a Choice Scarf variant, he now would be locked into Fire Punch. But I think a combination of Fire Punch and Moongeist Beam should be enough to knock out the Groudon of his opponent. So yeah, with Ditto, it's always very different from other games because there all of a sudden it matters like where are the Pokemon, because Ditto of course transforms the Pokemon that is opposite of it. So that is something that you really have to keep in mind, that changes the dynamic of the game quite significantly. And of course, with a Ditto, if you transform into one of those restricted legendary Pokemon, you can have more than 2 of them. Even though usually, of course, that's not allowed by the rules. But now, well, there's the Primal Groudon standing in there for Baris, and really goes to show how strong Ditto can really be.
Oh yeah. If you follow, like, Lunala moved before the Groudon, so I'm not sure whether it's Choice Scarf Ditto or a really slow Groudon from Paul Ruiz. Only Baris knows yet.
Yes, Shadow Ball coming out from that Gengar, but with that Shadow Shield ability, Lunala is able to withstand that move, even though it is 4 times super effective. Gets the knockout on Groudon of his opponent, and then the Fire Punch comes out once again, and Baris beating our world champion from 2018 and is going up 1-0, and he knows. There we see him celebrating a little bit there. Yeah, that was a good game that he played. In the first turn with the taunt, he really got stopped there and had to switch up his strategy significantly, but there he is smiling, knowing that he beat a very strong opponent in that game. But yeah, nicely done. What do you think Paul Ruiz could do for the second game to adapt kind of to what he saw in the first game?
Well, I really like to see Yveltal. This is one of the restricted Pokemon you're not that scared too much for Ditto copying it. Because it usually doesn't have like super effective move against itself, and Ditto is kind of limited to a small number of HP. Like Ditto just copies every stat besides HP, and Yveltal is a Pokemon that got a really high HP stat, so you can take out that one a bit easier, especially if we see that Baris used the Lunala. Though like Paul has to be like has to respect the Xerneas setup from Baris on the other hand, so he may has been a bit too scared to bring it. I do like the 4 Pokemon, but now he knows like that Ditto is really putting in some work, and
yeah, it's kind of tough.
Setup.
It's kind of tough with Ditto because usually you want to select your Pokemon based on what your opponent has, but if they have a Ditto, it could be any of the Pokemon that you bring to the battle. And now that Primal Groudon happened to be a Pokemon where Paul didn't have a clear answer for it. I mean, Tapu Koko, Mega Gengar, Bronzong, like neither of those Pokemon really like facing against a Groudon. But yeah, as you were saying, if Paul somehow managed to bring his Yveltal in and have that Ditto of his opponent copy the Yveltal, then he could also, say, use his own Tapu Koko to knock it out. So it gives him a little bit like more options, so to say. But yeah, at the same time, Ditto just really opening up a lot of possibilities in those games. So yeah, let's see. For the second game, Baris going for the same lead, but as we're saying, he has switched up the position of his Pokemon, and yeah, with that Ditto, that actually matters. So now we have Kangaskhan on the left-hand side and Lunala on the right-hand side. So if the game were to play out as before, well, oh no, wait, actually, in the first game we saw the Xerneas, now we have Lunala coming out for Baris. So, well, he did not only change up the order, but also the Pokemon that he selected.
This is something you always have to bear in mind when you're playing a Ditto. Like, what do I plan on getting knocked out? Where do I see my first knockouts getting taken from my opponent and stuff like that? So he obviously has that in mind. And now we see that Kangaskhan Lunala lead, which is a pretty classy one, going for Fake Out, going for Speed Control, let it be Tailwind, let it be Icy Wind, let it be Trick Room. And again, Paul Ruiz wants to shut down stuff like that by having the Gengar locking both Pokemon Baris in now. Not both. Lunala can switch out since it's a ghost type. While the Tapu Koko is able to taunt again. But if he wants to taunt in front of a Lunala, I don't know yet.
Yeah, one thing that is missing from Paul Ruiz's team, we haven't really talked about it, but he does not have Incineroar, and usually that's like a perfect partner to come together with Mega Gengar, because you can intimidate them, Fake Out, and then trap them in at the same time. But since he does not have an Incineroar, Baris correctly identifying that Lunala and Kangaskhan is actually a pretty solid duo to open things up. He does take the Shadow Ball once again and now is able to get, as you were saying, the speed control in his favor. His move of choice here is Tailwind to do that. Now, all Pokemon of Baris will double in speed for the next 3 turns.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, both the Kangaskhan and the Lunala should outspeed all of Paul's Pokemon, essentially. And we have already seen how much damage Double Edge does to Tapu Koko. And one other thing, because Paul does not have Incineroar, he does not have the immediate Intimidate, which is usually a prime answer to Kangaskhan. So he does have an endless Therian form on the team, but we did not see that in the first game. So maybe Baris can just go for like a lot of strong attacks, go for like the Z move with the Lunala and double edge into the other slot, and there's not that much that Paul can do to stop that.
Yeah, like Baris positioned him really well. Like he took the Shadow Ball thanks to Shadow Shield really well, and is now in one of those positions where he can safely dish out damage each turn, and Paul has to maneuver around those Tailwind turns by bringing in Bronzong. He shows that it's... Well, he takes the double edge, right? But that Kangaskhan can just go for a bite into the Gengar slot or the Bronzong slot, and so can Lunala do Moongeist beams or even C-moves into both slots again. So, like, Paul is on the back foot now and has to try to get rid of Tailwind by doing really clever switches.
Yeah, for this turn, he didn't take that much damage. Bronzong resisting the double edge was a nice switch in, and then also Gengar going for the protect. But yeah, as you were saying, Bronzong doesn't carry protect that often, and Gengar has just used it. So now the floodgates are open, and Baris can just decide where he wants to put the damage in. He could go for the Z-move with the Lunala, and bite onto both slots could also be a way to do damage and also have the chance to flinch. So let's see, Bite is coming out into the Gengar slot, doing a lot of damage, but it is not quite enough for the knockout. Lunala, however, still has yet to move, and there we do see the Z-move once again coming out. I would guess that this should be targeted into the Bronzong to knock it out to prevent the Trick Room from going
I think this is what, like, he went for the safe option there. Like, he could have changed moves around, but Bite wouldn't necessarily have taken out the Bronzong, so he wanted to not get Trick Room up because he got Tailwind. So he's eager to get his own Lunala knocked out by Gengar, just to prevent the Trick Room, and I think he got some plans in mind, like if Trick Room got set up, like Xerneas cannot set up later on, and so this was, I think, the safer play for Baris to make.
Yeah, well done, and now we get to see, does the Gengar move? Or does it flinch? And it does flinch. And this time around, Baris gets lucky there, or, well, it's like almost a 50-50 whether that Pokemon moves or not. But yeah, you take your chances, and it did some good damage. And we're not quite done with Tailwind yet, so Paul has to stall out a little bit longer to even up the speed again. And with Tapu Koko and Gengar, two Pokemon that naturally are very, very fast, but at the same time they're not that bulky. As, say, the Kangaskhan and the Lunala. But yeah, with that Tailwind, Baris' Pokemon are faster. They're like have more, like they have really strong attack, and they're also pretty bulky and can take attacks. So yeah, just a perfect lead. Done pretty nicely by Baris, going for the Kangaskhan and Lunala lead. And looks like Paul deciding to maybe, once again, he did not bring his Evoltal. And Baris correctly identifying that if there is no Evoltal around, Lunala is just so strong in this matchup. Really nicely done there by Baris. And, well, the match isn't over yet, of course, but Baris really in a solid position. Now copying the Gengar. Okay, yeah, that is cool. I mean, you get to see the moveset as well, which is something that can give you some additional information for a potential third game if Paul somehow gets back into this. But yeah, really nice, because Paul, of course, wants to protect here to stall out the Tailwind, but Baris already has the Gengar in place now. He's trapping in his opponent's Tapu Koko, and also, well,
that was
can
really
threaten
clever.
A lot of damage on the Gengar or knock it out with Shadow Ball. So yeah, Baris celebrating there now. Well, he just doesn't stop. Now he has two Mega Pokemon up the field.
He got two Mega Pokemon, and he capitalized so much on that predicted double protect. So now he can lock in the Tapu Koko. The Tapu Koko just protected. Then Paul's Gengar can usually not take out Baris' Kangaskhan, so he can freely attack into the Gengar slot. So Baris is pretty much free to take out at least one Pokemon.
Sludge Bomb coming out, knocking out the Tapu Koko, and you were saying it, that Kangaskhan, that's going to bite away that Gengar. Shadow Ball coming out from Paul, of course. He wanted to knock out the Gengar, or well, the Ditto, before it could move, but nope. Baris moved first. And now we'll get another knockout, most likely. Yeah, there is the bite, and Paul Ruiz down to his very last Pokemon. And you can see Baris celebrating. He knows, well, Ditto goes down, but he was able to knock out both Pokemon of his opponent, and he's really in such a strong position now.
Oh yeah, he got 3 Pokemon, potentially still 2 restricted, and the Mega Pokemon facing the one Groudon that Paul is sending in now.
Yep, and that's everything that they have. Both of them sending out their remaining Pokemon. But yeah, of course, Baris still has that low HP Lunala in the back as well.
Yeah.
And Paul knows it, that this is going to be a very long walk back.
Not undoable, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Groudon naturally, if this was like a one-on-one, Groudon could beat all of, well, he could beat Xerneas 1v1, could beat the Kangaskhan and the Lunala, but well, it's just like too many Pokemon on Baris' side. He can just probably go for, like, say, Bite and Geomancy this turn, maybe get another flinch there, set up the Geomancy, and then start attacking the next turn. And yeah, we've seen Paul's Groudon is slower than all of Baris' Pokemon that he has left. And Baris is going for that Bite once again.
I really do like the move Bite on Kangaskhan because it's not that much weaker than Crunch, but it still can turn games around.
Yeah,
and this is what players usually go for. If a certain move can win you games, you go for that one. And this Bite is one of those moves, and we see the Geomancy come in. Xerneas gets more and more powerful, but are we going to see the flinch as well?
Nope, this time it's going to be Precipice Blades. Kangaskhan, though, does avoid the attack, so it will only hit into the Xerneas. However, seeing as, Xerneas from Baris is also relatively bulkily trained, so it can take, it would even be able to take yet another one of those moves. And yeah, I think, Paul really probably needed to go with that Evotal, or, well, on the other hand, Baris, like, very cleverly identified that Evotal might not come in this matchup because of the strong presence that Xerneas has, of course. We might be able to ask him that in the interview after the game, but for now, Moonblast and Double Edge come out and will knock out the Groudon, and GG.
Whoa.
Baris moves on to 3-0.
There we see. So he's kind of back, Marcus, isn't he?
Well, I mean, 3-0 at this tournament that is so stacked and has really some of the best players in the world is really nothing to laugh at. And there he is, cheering with his fans or with the crowd. And he's really excited about this win. And Paul Ruiz, on the other hand, well, he's knocked down to 2-1. He still has the chance to move on to Top Cut if he wins his remaining games. So he's not out of the competition, but Baris now also with a flawless match record, by the way, so he hasn't dropped the game yet. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 so far. And he's really collecting his stuff. And he looks pretty happy and satisfied with how he did here.
Yeah. And I really can understand why. Where I really like the team, like the composition, Lunala and Xerneas combined with the strong support of two fake-out Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then we got the Ditto for certain matchups like this one. And the use of Ditto hasn't been copying a boosted Xerneas. It was really clever played. It was like I think this showed like how far of turns ahead Baris planned. So in my eyes, he's still one of the best players out. So like.
Yeah, definitely proved it in that set. And yeah, that's an interesting point that you were mentioning. Usually, players are really interested in looking into Ditto because of how strong Xerneas is. So if you can copy a boosted Xerneas, then all of a sudden your opponent is like, oh, well, now you also have one of those guys, and it's just so strong and can be really overwhelming. But yeah, Paul didn't have the Xerneas. Baris, on the other hand, still brought the Ditto, copied other Pokemon. He copied the boosted Groudon in the first game, and then the Mega Gengar in the second game. And both times, that was really the turning point of the match. When Ditto came in, really taking advantage of being able to kind of like choose which Pokemon Baris wanted the Ditto to transform into, like where on which side and at what point in the battle he wanted it to join. And really he had Paul's numbers. Like he predicted that double protect. He was always just one step ahead. Even when we were saying, oh, Paul has established the trap, now he can set up the Swords Dance. Ditto comes in, steals the boost.